Okay, we're good to go. Hey everybody, how's it going? Max with BuzzTox here. I am back with our Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 4 and Episode 5 live stream. This one is going to be a little bit different here. I just kind of threw this together because I'm trying to figure out moderators and all that. 'Cause I know we have a lot of people in the chat and we know we've been through spoilers before. So I just literally went through and I pre-approved some familiar faces. And if some of you hopefully know how to use it, great. Then delete some of those people who spoil stuff, because I can't possibly go through questions and delete all these spoilers all at once. So I'm counting on you guys. So I've made some familiar faces, programmer video games. You are now a moderator. There's some other people who have also made moderators. And as we go through, maybe I'll take some time and add a couple more people. Who knows, really, just to make sure that we're not spoiling anything for this episode. But we'll see what happens. I've heard some things about this episode just from pure from the comment section, right? I read all the comments, even though I can't answer all of them. I go through it. The one thing that I notice is people are posting spoilers on what will happen for episode 5 and episode 6. My thing is, I don't know if I'm in denial, but I don't think that they're legitimate. Some of them are ridiculous. Honestly, it's at the point where I've talked about it before, and I put up a video talking about who will sit the throne. And my point of view is the story has to move forward, right? The whole purpose of a Game of Thrones, it has to have a reason for telling the story, right? And let's say Gendry Baratheon, right? Making Gendry king in the show, I think, would be a mistake. Really, because it falls into the exact same trope of why Robert was king in the first season, right? There needs to be an arc. And what we've found out from Daenerys is that, she wants to break the wheel. They want to build a better world, all that stuff, right? And making Gendry king at the end of the show undermines everything. It makes him just like Robert, where they just elect someone who's not qualified, who shouldn't be king. And it undermines their whole purpose of the show, right? I think the same goes with like some people think Bran is going to sit the throne just because he sits a lot in a wheelchair and apparently has something special to offer. I think that's the worst possible thing you could do story-wise. And we'll see what happens, but I'm going to go back. I'll announce it now. After episode 6 is done, I'm probably going to make a series showing what I would do differently to make the show more compelling, because obviously they messed up the Night King and the White Walkers. That was a mess. And I hope they don't mess up these last 3 episodes of the show. Really, really, really bad. I'm a little bit nervous, I got to be honest. And a lot of people, I posted, and in my video, everyone was quoting me saying, you said it was phenomenal. Look, I enjoyed the episode for what it was. Episode 4 was a great episode because I've tempered my expectations based on the circumstance of the show, right? I wasn't happy with episode 3. I left that at the door when I watched episode 4. I'm trying to just enjoy the experience of watching these last 3 episodes, because it's a whole new arc right now. It's Cersei's arc. And for what it was and what they could have done, I think they did a good enough job. It was good enough, right? And just in terms of to be honest too, it's no secret, Jon's my favorite character. And I think it did it did a lot of fan service to me personally. Tormund, one of my favorite characters, he leaves with Ghost. Jon is going south to King's Landing. Just kind of everything kind of happened that I thought would happen. And especially them fleshing out Varys betraying Daenerys for Jon. I said that a year ago. I've been saying that for a long time. And I think I was on a high in episode 4 because they were finally doing compelling writing in terms of how they were handling Varys. And some things like how Sansa said that she wouldn't say anything, and then she shared the secret with Jon, or with Tyrion. Sorry, I didn't have any issues with that because I thought that was perfect for her character, and I realized that they only have 3 episodes to tell the story. So I think the shortcomings that people had with episode 4 didn't affect me as much, because I at least thought, even though it was done quickly, it at least had a logical destination, if that makes any sense. But like I said, I'm going to be going through what I would do differently in some videos, much like I did in episode 3. But there's my rant. Let's go through who's in the chat. We got a lot of people right now. We have 420 something people, which is awesome. So let's go through and see who's here. We got Ostro, Nils, programmer of video games, Dylan. What's going on, guys? Jason, Joker, Siglet, Menchie. I made you moderator as well, even though you don't know how, which is fine. Don't worry about it. So, hey, everybody, how is it going? And then what are some of the opinions here? SGZ says he loved episode 4. I appreciated it for what it was, right? In my video, I said I loved it. And because based on episode 3, honestly, anything would have made me happy. I just think the story kind of tanked at that point. But, who knows? I think, and that being said, a lot of people say that, oh, the Night King's going to come back. No, that whole story arc is done. They're going to focus on Cersei now. And I think this episode is going to be really big. So let's get to your questions. Ostro, he has the first question. He says, will there be a flash forward scene in the next 2 episodes? If there's a flash forward scene, it would be like a 20-minute epilogue at the end of the show. I think it would just kind of go through how everything wrapped up, right? Just kind of showing what the new world that was built, who's the ruler, that kind of thing. Or there'd be no, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, too, if there's no flash forward scene and it's just this person takes their mantle on the throne or the throne is deconstructed. Whatever happens, they would just kind of show how it wraps up. And that's it, right? But, I wouldn't be surprised if we get like a 10-minute close. And what if it jumped like 20 years in the future when King's Landing is repaired, when the realms are back together and peace is made? I think that would be a really interesting thing to see too. But if anything, it would be like reserved 10 to 20 minutes of the last episode of the show. Nil says, have you ever considered if the Game of Thrones story might symbolically represent something that we can learn from? I've heard theories including global warming, for example. Thanks for the great channel. Yeah, thanks. In terms of representing global warming, yeah, sure. That's a part of it. My issue with that is, it's great if you want something to resemble that, right? But the problem is that we've had a lot of compelling plot points and character arcs, and in my mind, it's not about a show being predictable. It's about a show being compelling, right? If you're going to lay a claim on who a character is and what their character arc is and all these prophecies and development, you need it to pay off one way or another for it to be satisfying, right? It's like when I talked so much about the Night King, right? I made a theory video on it where they always talked about Azor Ahai and pulling a flaming sword out of Nisa, that kind of thing, right? How much better would it be if instead of it being a flaming sword, it was a child, and that was a sacrifice, and that would feed into why the Night King took children, why he leaves symbols, why he leaves all of that, right? Those were plot points that never were really fleshed out. It really went nowhere. So in my mind, like it can reset stuff. That's great. It just needs to be compelling and lead somewhere. That's why I always thought, just in terms of like character arcs, I always look at the character arc of different characters, right? In terms of Daenerys, I always knew that she would die because she's a character who represents, she's a conqueror, right? Everything that she wants, she takes what is hers. She's a great person, but sometimes she rules by impulse. She's caring to a point where she does things that are to her detriment and not as a leader, right? And I think she wants to break the wheel. She wants to build a better world. But in doing that, she's doing everything else everyone has done before her. So I think in some ways she can be kind of resemble kind of a hypocrite. She's listening to her counsel, which is to her detriment, but that's who she has to be to build a better world. And I think this episode, we're going to see her burn everything to King's Landing to the ground, and she'll be left with no support, and she'll become that conqueror, right? And I don't think she's needed. I think that completes her character arc because she doesn't fit in the new world. And that's where I think Jon fits in. And I know Jon's my favorite character, but honestly, if Jon isn't king at this point, his character will be useless. That's how I feel about it. If Jon wasn't going to be king, he needed to be used for the Night King. Jon has to have an avenue to fulfill his character arc, and he hasn't had that at all. So I think for the show to actually mean something, Jon would have to be king, or if he left on his own terms, really highlighting what it means to break the wheel. But I just think I'm worried about Jon having a fulfilling character arc, and I feel like we'll see where that goes. I'm not necessarily sure. Um, Programmer of video game says if you look at the interviews of the cast for the show, you can tell they look disappointed. Can you? I'm not sure. I haven't seen any interviews. I was actually talking to my girlfriend, and she said that Kit Harington, the guy who plays Jon Snow, they asked him what he thought about the show, and his first answer was disappointed. So, yeah, great. That makes you feel good. So apparently he said that, and then he backtracked, but um, it's probably because he's not king at the end of it, right? And I wouldn't be surprised at this point. The producers of the show are probably just going to stick somebody else on the throne because of the element of surprise, and it won't make any logical sense whatsoever. But I take a little bit of hope knowing that hopefully George R. R. Martin told them the end, and hopefully that's where they were building to, right? I just hope they just pick somebody on the throne that makes sense. Dylan says, "Do you think an abundance of honor is enough to govern the Seven Kingdoms? Why or why not?" Um, I don't. I think it's more than just honor. I think, like I said, Daenerys' story is about conquering and taking what is hers. John's story is about perspective. His whole story has been about understanding different sides and bringing them together. That's the definition of who he is. He started off as a bastard. He went to the Night's Watch. He despised them, and then Tyrion taught him a lesson in perspective. He learned their points of view. They became his friends. He then went and learned about the wildlings, learned about their way of life. He brought them together, the Night's Watch and the Crows. And since then, his character arc has been bringing people together to face a common enemy. And I think that's somebody that you need for this better world. It's somebody that everyone can rally behind, someone that he can bring all these people together. And honor helps because he's, what his word is his bond, right? And in order to build this new world, eliminated of politics, where there's no manipulation, there's no anything like that, right? And I think he would be the perfect candidate for that reason. Um, his whole character arc literally builds to that moment, and then on top of that, his blood too. So I just feel like it's like the perfect thing at this point. Um, but yeah, programmer video games confirms what I said. He said it would be disappointing. So yeah, I don't know. Um, Da, 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 da. Dylan says, "Is it possible that the stuff Danny sees coated on the Iron Throne is actually ashes?" So this is the House of the Undying. When she goes to the throne and it's like destroyed, I say it's snow. A lot of people say like, "What if it is it ashes?" And my opinion is, it could be, but I don't think so. I think it was pretty clear that it was snow. Um, and winter is coming. Like even though the Night King is dead, winter is still coming to King's Landing. So that's something that's still going to happen. Um, but it's possible it could be ashes too. Yeah, it could be either. But regardless, I think it's the same interpretation. I think Daenerys does that. I think it's going to be the throne is going to be just out of her reach, and she's going to choose her children over the throne. And I think she'll die for it. And I think I like the interpretation of a snow will sit the throne, but we'll see. Um, duh, 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 duh. Jason says the Valonqar prophecy might come to pass through Euron Greyjoy. It translates to brother, not necessarily Cersei's younger brother. Euron is the little brother of Balon and Aeron. Yeah, for sure. I just don't. I don't think that that's as. It wouldn't be compelling. You know what I mean? Like we have Jamie going. We have Jamie going south right now, right? And Euron killing Cersei is a possibility. I hope the writers didn't brush over that, but like Tyrion full blown exposed Cersei on her child. Like she told Euron that she's pregnant, and then Tyrion full blown exposed her. And literally, when I watched the show for the first time, I was like, oh, but he didn't react. So I don't know if they're just going to bury that. Um, but I think there was a reason why they had a scene between Euron and Yara because the whole point was them to illustrate that Euron can leave at any time. When he said like, "Oh, if the Queen doesn't give me what I want, then I'll leave." He said that in episode 1, and I think that they could be paving the road for that. But to be honest with you, I think Daenerys is just going to burn him and kill him this episode anyway. So I don't think it matters. Um, D&D definitely don't want to give away the story ending so easily for us to figure it out. They like surprises. Who knows what they have done with the story? Yeah. This story, I'm very worried about what they're going to do because they've basically thrown out half of it with the Night King. And the worst thing you want with a TV show is for people to feel like they wasted their time, and for them to set up 8 seasons of John's journey, of Daenerys's journey, of all these characters, and then throwing it away by throwing some random on the throne. Um, it's just a waste. Definitely a waste of time. So they have to be really careful how they end this thing, and I'm very very nervous. So we'll see what happens. I just think like Daenerys dying. I expected that. I know that that's going to happen. To me, that makes sense for her character. But John needs to sit the throne at this point. Like there's nobody else who could. So I think he has to, and that's my inner fandom speaking. But at the end of the day, the whole purpose of his character is that because they shortchanged him with the Night King. So now this character is left with nothing. No wonder Kit Harington seemed upset in his interviews because I feel like they shortchanged his character at this point. So I don't know. Talon Stag says, "Who do you think will die in this episode if anyone dies at all?" It's going to be hard. It's hard to predict it because this episode is going to kind of bleed into the last episode. Like Daenerys is going to die, Cersei's going to die, Jaime's going to die. Who else? I think Arya is going to die. Who else? Grey Worm's probably one of those guys who's going to live now because Missandei already died. Trying to think of who else. Who are the main characters? Everyone in Cersei's party is going to die. Qyburn, the Mountain. The Hound might die. I'm not sure. I like the idea of the Hound and Arya kind of going west of Westeros together, but I don't know. I always had this feeling that Arya would die young. And we like they had that scene right where Arya said she's not planning on coming back. So that could be her going west of Westeros. That could be her trying to sacrifice herself, somebody for it. So I'm really not sure. Okay, let's see what we got here. But yeah, like I said, very nervous about this episode. Yeah, so people are again saying that spoilers are loose, and I think it's impressive how these spoilers are released time and time again. Like I don't understand it. It's crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of them. I'm at the point now where I feel like a lot of them are fake just because they sound so ridiculous. So I hope they're not true. Let's see what we got. Oh, by the way, guys, if you have any questions, do an at BuzzTox. So it's like orange. I can see it. I know it's a question. I can address it because when I'm like going through the chat and I'm trying to see all you guys, it's very hard to do. There's like 1,000 of you people in here, so it's hard to keep it organized. So if you have a question, do at BuzzTox. I'll read what I can. But other than that, it just makes it more organized. So I'll be able to do that. Okay. But yeah, thanks, guys. Holy, there's a lot of people in the chat. Somebody says, do you think that they will have Clegane Bowl? Do you think that a way they could have Clegane Bowl is Cersei being captured, not killed, and demanding trial by combat? I don't think Cersei is going to have a trial at this point. I just think it doesn't make sense. I feel like I think her death is going to be caught up in like just the moment. I think Daenerys is going to go crazy and burn everything to the ground, and that's exactly what Cersei wants. That's the poetic justice that she has for her. It's not just killing Daenerys; it's destroying everything she stood for. I think, but I think Cersei won't stop. And the way I always saw it was Jaime will be trying to get her to stop, and she won't. So I think he'll end up killing her or something. But I think she's going to die in the moment. It won't be like a delayed event. That's the worst thing you could do. But it wouldn't surprise me because in season 7, they delayed. This is the ultimate episode. This is the big episode, right? And they delayed that a ton last season. Like when they were waiting on the rock, it just was such a slow episode. And I hope they don't do that this time. I think them capturing Cersei and delaying it and giving her a trial, I think at this point it's just go, go, go. And I hope that it turns out that way. Kevin from Virginia says, "Do you think Varys' storyline and his forthcoming betrayal was overemphasized?" Um, I don't know if it was emphasized. It was. I had a video about Varys like a year ago talking about this. I don't know if the community really talked about Varys' betrayal much. Um, I think last season it was kind of trickled in well. I don't think it was overdone. Um, they had him just a little concerned. He wanted Daenerys to listen. He was there seeing Jon give her advice. I think it was a little foreshadowed. Um, I think him jumping on board was like quick, obviously, because they have 6 episodes left. But Varys is one of the better storylines that I like happening right now with the show. So I'm optimistic about it. I think he's going to be executed by Daenerys. I hope he does something significant to put the power in Jon's favor without Jon even meaning to, right? Because power has always resided with Jon. People always chose Jon. And I hope Varys turns the tide to the point where people choose Jon. There's nothing he can do. Everyone's against Daenerys. And that's the Game of Thrones, right? Jon didn't even know he was playing. And he betrayed Daenerys by telling his siblings. And he thought he was doing the honorable thing, but it could be to Daenerys' detriment, right? So I think that would be like a bittersweet kind of thing. Um, what do we got here? Do you think we'll get someone to sit on the throne tonight, or do you think they're gonna wait till last episode? It's gonna be last episode because if they get somebody on the throne this time, um, it'll just be like, okay, what's the next episode gonna be? Unless it would end Daenerys sitting on the throne and she starts to rule and people don't like it. I think that's the only way it would be even possible. Is if Cersei's defeated, King's Landing is basically destroyed. Many people are dead, and Daenerys takes her seat on the throne, and nobody's happy with it. And things would have to be done to fix that. So, yeah, I think that's what we'll see. Um, da, 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 da. Going through the comments here, I see a lot are deleted, so we'll I guess they're spoilers. So thank you guys for being good moderators. Appreciate it. Do you think we'll get someone to sit on the Iron Throne tonight, or do you think, yeah, we just answered that question. It's hit or miss. Either Daenerys will sit on the throne. I guess it would make sense if somebody did sit the throne, like Daenerys takes her place, and a lot of people aren't happy with it. So I think something like that will happen. Lady Brunken, do you think Cersei will come to terms with the fact that she is the person that fulfilled Maggie's prophecy and have little growth? I don't think she's going to address. I don't think that's good. Prophecy is going to be addressed at all. I just think at this point, Cersei's not. She's just trying to destroy everything at this point. She doesn't have anything to fight for. She just wants to make sure that Daenerys doesn't sit the throne out of spite, right? So I think really that's her arc. I don't think we're going to see her have this like come to moment. Like she's already admitted, like she talked to Jamie about Marcella, saying that like she thought Marcella was so amazing because it reminds her that she's not just a monster after all. Like she knows the kind of person she is. So I don't think we're going to see any more in that aspect. Timo says 1 week ago, we are in for a treat these next 3 episodes. I did say that. So we'll see. I did say that. So we'll see what happens this episode. I'm not hating on episode 4 like a lot of other people. I understand there's, some plot holes or like convenient stuff, like when you're on attack Dragonstone, how did they not see that kind of thing? Yeah, I don't. I kind of oversee that. I think the Night King was more of a botch because the Night King concluded a story that was set up for so long, right? What episode 4 was is it actually added a lot of good storytelling. It was Varys and Tyrion discussing Jon and how he's legitimate and who they should support. And I think it raised a lot of good questions for the time that they had. in terms of um, some plot points, like you're on surprising Daenerys and killing the dragon had to be killed. I guess that's a part of the story. We see one dragon in Bran's vision. How they got there, sure, wasn't the best, but I can suspend my disbelief enough to see that that would happen. Like little things, and I think the showrunners think that way, and I've kind of thought about that too. Like they think, oh, we just won't show that part. And then a lot of people get upset about it. Like when Grey Worm said, go to he said a name for it, but basically it means a small boat, right? So the showrunners are like, okay, Missandei's going to get captured by her going onto a little boat and she's going to be captured by Euron. But they didn't show that, right? But I just put that off in my head. That didn't bother me because I just figured that that's what happened. You know what I mean? Um, so what I would say with episode 4 is I liked it because it laid down the plot for this episode and it didn't have anything that ruined what was set up. It was a setup episode. So that's why I liked it more than episode 3. Episode 3 was like, oh yeah. It was kind of a botched episode in my opinion. What do we got here? Somebody asks, what is the Iron Bank's role? Right now, their role is to fund the Golden Company. So that's the contract that was formed from the Golden Company and Cersei because she got the funding from the Golden Company, or sorry, Iron Bank. They got the funding from the Iron Bank. They have all the money. We know that if they feel like the tide is turning, then they'll switch and they'll fund the enemies, right? I feel like at this point they put so much faith into Cersei. So I think the Iron Bank won't really play a role anymore. I think the Golden Company are going to switch on their own terms, and that's going to result in the fall of her. And I think the Iron Bank is just going to pick up the pieces. I don't think it's that the Iron Bank is really going to be addressed anymore. Miss YouTuber says John sitting on the throne is the definition of cliche ending, though, is it not? I think there's a difference between cliche and what the story entails. Like a lot of people say that John shouldn't be king because it's cliche. Um, but that's the plot that was set up. You know what I mean? I feel like any other character, and I can go through all of them, but any other character sitting on the throne doesn't make sense to the context of the story. And maybe I'm just sitting here being like an optimist, but um, John sitting the throne is that was the plot that they put forward, and that's what they set up. And to be a compelling storyteller, you need to address the setup of the show. John not being king at this point undermines his whole character arc, and it just would leave a bad taste in my mouth. Oh, missed some questions here. One sec. Let's see here. Oh wow, a lot of questions. Woo! It's funny because I'm still in like the top part of the comment section, and wow, you realize how many questions are being asked. Riptor says, "Have you seen the video theory talking about an alternate ending where Bran and the Night King honor the original pact between the humans and the Whites, creating a new pact?" In terms of that video, no. Do I think the Night King is going to come back? No. I think saying that he's going to come back is almost wishful storytelling. I can tell at this point they ended him. I'd be shocked if they did a twist, but they clearly killed him. We saw all of them die. I don't think that's going to happen at this point. Whether that's going to happen in the books, I don't know. Who knows? Skylar James says, "Why do you think Daenerys will die?" I think it's a part of her story arc as a character. Since season 1, Daenerys her whole mission has been to grow from the ground up to be a conqueror, to take what is hers, right? Her mission is to break the wheel. The wheel represents the rich houses crushing over the poor, even though she's using her Targaryen name to then take what is hers. And her whole claim on taking the throne is based on her being a Targaryen. So right there, her argument crumbles. And in terms of her as a queen, she is she's like done great things, but at other times she's very impulsive and she does things that are to the detriment or not to the best of everyone else. to the slaves and the slavers. It was great for her to rescue the slaves, but as a ruler, you need to be the balance between the two sides and bring them together. She wasn't that. And she's done many things where she wants to burn King's Landing to the ground. She wanted to burn the slavers' place to the ground. So I think her journey being a conqueror, she's not needed in the new world that she wants to build. So I think her arc is going to be building that new world and paving the way for somebody like Jon, who's more temperate, who doesn't want the throne, to kind of run with it and with what she wanted. I just think based on her character arc, she won't get what she wants, but she'll pave the way for it. Joe says, whose character arc is uncertain in terms of whether or not the person will survive to the end of the show? In terms of important characters, I think it's Arya. Sansa, I'm confident is going to live. Bran, I think, is going to live. Jon's going to live. Daenerys, I think, is going to die. Cersei's going to die. Jaime's going to die. The only one that I'm like, meh on is Arya. She could go one of two ways. It's 50-50 for me. She could either go do what she wants to in King's Landing and then go west of Westeros, or she could die trying. In terms of Arya, I think her story is 50-50. Somebody asked, am I wearing eyeliner? No, I'm not. Sarah says, what do you think the fate is of Tyrion? Tyrion, I've always said he's kind of like the mentor. I think Tyrion, regardless, he's going to help build this new world. He's going to be the mentor, or he could be, if Jon or Daenerys are not king or queen, it should be Tyrion. I think that would be a good underdog story too, of somebody who's been the counselor and then he kind of went his full way and sat on the throne. So if I were to make a list, Jon and Daenerys are the most likely candidates. Tyrion would be the third. So I think that would be his role, or he'd be the mentor or counselor to whoever sits the throne. But regardless, I think that's gonna be him moving forward. And yeah, somebody says you forgot about Varys. He's definitely gonna die. Yeah, we know that. Melisandre said that in season 7, and he's gonna be executed by Daenerys. What are the chances Sansa sits the throne? Yeah, she's one of those people. I did a video about it. If Tyrion's my third, Sansa would be my fourth. She's one of the more likely people. In terms of what she represents, I think it would make more sense if she was King of Winter or Queen of Winterfell at this point, for a couple reasons. For one, she was raised by the people of King's Landing. Basically, she learned a lot from them. She learned how to politically maneuver, all that stuff, right? And I think the whole purpose of the show, trying to destroy the wheel and build a better world, I think it would be undermined if they put Sansa in that position, because she's politically savvy. And I think you need somebody like Jon in that aspect to destroy what used to be there. And with Sansa too, I don't think she would want to be in King's Landing. I think her whole arc started off as her loving King's Landing, despising her family, wanting to marry Joffrey, all that. And we've seen her kind of come full circle and appreciate herself, her family, her people. And she protects Winterfell and the North more than anyone. So I would love it if she was queen of the independent North. That's what I feel like would make more sense with Sansa's character. Yasser says, do you think this episode will be trash? I think I'll like it only for, I'm pretty sure I'll like it. The only possible thing that will disappoint me about this show is who sits on the throne. That's the only thing that will affect me. That's it. I don't think there's anything at this point that would really disappoint me other than who will sit the throne. It's the same thing with the Night King. How the Night King was defeated was done very bad. And I hope that they do a compelling, I hope they capitalize on the Varys story, him choosing Jon. I hope they don't shortchange that story. They've been developing it. I just hope they capitalize on the plot that they put forward. That's all I want. So I'm optimistic. A lot of people are asking about Drogon like planting eggs, and they're saying that there's like a fourth dragon in the credits. I'm not going to jump into that theory at all. I don't give it any credibility. I know, like, I don't know if it's YouTubers who talk about this. I don't know if this is from Reddit. I personally don't do any research on the origin of theories. But in terms of there being a fourth dragon, there's no way the show would do that. It would come out of left field. It's not grounded in anything. They didn't there's no story development at all. It would just be like, surprise, here's a fourth dragon. Um, and I don't think the show wants to do that because it discredits Daenerys being the mother of dragons, right? So yeah, at this point, there's not going to be a fourth dragon. I think it would undermine the whole story. So no, I don't think that's going to happen. The official Miss Clark. Do you think the writers will let Ghost die? That is the one death I'll be miserable about. No, Ghost is done. They retired. They retired him. He's going with Tormund north of the Wall. Got to say though, I'd love a spinoff. Um, but the thing with Ghost is funny because it makes me think of the two ways Jon Snow's character can go. I can almost guarantee Jon's going to live, right? And the one thing that I find about his character is that he never lives for other people. He always gets thrusted into these situations where he has to kind of pick up the pieces for everyone, even though he doesn't want to. And I think Ghost was interesting because it could represent two things, right? Um, Arya's dog Nymeria, that's kind of named after a warrior, and it was an independent direwolf who's now a leader of a pack, and Arya had to let her go. And I think it's the same thing with Jon, where um, Ghost has red eyes like a Targaryen. He's internal fire, but outside he's a direwolf. He represents himself as a Stark, and I think that's Jon, right? And Jon wouldn't be any more happy than being north of the Wall with his friend Tormund, and because Tormund said himself, he has the North in him, and I think Ghost going north represents what Jon wants out of life, and I think that's a part of the bittersweet tragedy is if he becomes king, then that's the life that he doesn't want at all, but he takes it because he has to. It's his honor based. He has to do that, right? Um, or they'll go a whole other way, like I've been seeing in the comment section, where he chooses to go north of the Wall, which I guess I'd be fine with because it's his choice. But yeah, I don't know. That's how I feel about that. Cameron says, I think Jon will abdicate like Aemon, and Danny will dissolve the throne, thus breaking the wheel. Dissolve the throne, like destroy it. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. I think if Daenerys destroys the throne, then fine. I don't think she'll mean to because she wants to sit on it. I think if anything, I think Daenerys is going to die, and if they're going to go the road of somebody sitting on the throne, um, it would be possible if Jon just said that he didn't want to sit the throne, much like he did when he died from the Night's Watch. It depends. For me, it's 50-50. I hope Jon sits the throne because I feel like that's the whole aspect of his character. But yeah, I'm not sure. Um, somebody asks, what's the most disappointing way the show could end for me? Two things. Jon and Daenerys living together, being king and queen of the Seven Kingdoms. First of all, I do like happy endings, but that happy ending doesn't make sense. And the way the show could be butchered, the Night King was tough. I think that really affected me, in my opinion, of the show. In terms of how they could put the nail in the coffin for me, is 100% who sits the throne. If they put anyone on the throne who's not Jon or like Tyrion or someone who deserves it, then I'll be furious. Because it would undermine the whole aspect of the show, and them conquering and fighting for the throne would then mean nothing. The world won't be a better place. It would just go back to the way it was, and the whole show would be useless. So that's how the show could really disappoint me. Who sits on the throne, essentially. Somebody says, will we learn that Varys heard in the flame? At this point, no. The screams he heard in the flame, I thought that would be an aspect of it. But at this point, I don't think so. I think they kind of buried that aspect of it, and I don't think they have much to go back into prophecy. I think they're just going to show what happen, right? And I think Varys will die by Daenerys. Sakura says, how important do you think the development made between Tyrion and Sansa will affect the endgame? How important is their bond? I think the characters somewhat trust each other, but at the same time, Sansa knows that she can use Tyrion to her advantage to get Jon get claim to the throne, right? Um, so that's how I feel about that. In terms of their relationship moving forward, I don't think they're going to resume their marriage. I don't think that's going to happen. If anything, though, they would both own their own. Like Sansa would be in the North, Tyrion could be in the Crown Lands, or Tyrion could be in King's Landing. But regardless, I think these characters will work together, and they do have that trust. So I think, if anything, that's how that would go. Um, Somebody says one of the still photos shows Daenerys looking more sad and furious than mad. Maybe she will be more reserved and listen before torching the city of impulse. Your thoughts? I thought they already addressed that last episode. Daenerys said that she wanted to burn King's Landing to the ground, and they said no, and they said that they'll go talk to Cersei, negotiate, try and rescue Missandei, and get her to surrender the throne. And Daenerys said, "Good. If she turns her down, then they'll have her. Then the people will be able to blame Cersei for when fire rains down on them." So I think they already addressed that. I think Daenerys is at the point now where she's done. I think she's going to bring out the dragon, Drogon, and I think she's going to do that because I think they already moved past that plot point. Varys warned her. She's pissed. I think that's what's going to happen. I think she's going to go to Dragonstone and mourn for a bit. She's going to wait for. I'm actually a little confused by Dragonstone because we see Jon there and we see some other characters there like Grey Worm and Tyrion, but then we see them again in front of King's Landing. So in terms of how that's going to go, Daenerys is probably going to go back to Dragonstone. I feel like the episode may end in Dragonstone. Honestly, I'm not sure. I just feel like Daenerys is going to burn King's Landing. They already addressed that plot. Rosie says, "Why not Tyrion for the throne?" No, 100%. He's my third. He would be the third. If it's not Jon, then it should be Tyrion. I think Daenerys is going to die, so I guess he's my number two. But honestly, if it's not Daenerys, Tyrion, or Jon sitting on the throne, the show's done for me. It would make no sense at all for any other character to sit on the throne. Skylar James says, "Do you think Brienne will go after Jaime?" I think that's a possibility. I don't know if it's going to be a huge focus in this episode, though. I think this episode's going to be more of a focus on Jaime and Cersei. And I think Brienne will deal with the fallout of Jaime maybe dying. I don't know, but that's what I think about that. Somebody asked if this stream will be on during tonight's episode. No, I don't stream the episode. Yeah, I don't do that. I just answer questions. Lady Brunken says, "Do you think that Cersei will come to terms with the fact that it is her direct fault Tommen killed himself and that Maggie's predictions because of self-fulfilling prophecy?" Yeah, like I said, I don't think we're going to see her go through that mentally. I think she prepared herself for Tommen's death. And I think at that point, it's the realization that whatever she does will lead to the outcome that she doesn't want, right? So I think right now she's getting to the point where she doesn't care if she lives or dies. She's setting the table to ruin Daenerys. I think her whole mission is to ruin the people that have wronged her. She wants Daenerys to burn King's Landing to the ground. She wants Tyrion to watch. She wants her brother, who she despises. She wants Tyrion to see where he went wrong as a hand. She wants basically revenge on everyone, right? So I think that that's her role right now, and I think she's going to succeed at the end of the day, and I think she's going to die. Do you think Light-bringing sword will come into the TV story? No, I don't. I think that's done. And I never even said it was a sword. I always believed it was a baby, and that was meant to deal with the Night King. But they just had Arya kill him, which I thought was such a waste of a character. Like, in my mind, why would they pick Arya to kill the Night King? If anything, like, what's more emotionally satisfying, Arya killing the Night King or Arya killing Cersei? Arya killing Cersei. That would be, even though I'd be a little bit annoyed about it, it would still be more meaningful because Cersei was on Arya's list for the last 8 seasons. Arya had a reason to hate the Lannisters and hate Cersei. That makes sense. For Arya to kill the Night King, she had no relation to them at all. She had no hand in the battle, so it made us feel like we were gypped It was the least emotionally satisfying thing I've ever seen. So yeah, I would have picked Arya to do something else. And if Arya kills Cersei, that's another thing, by the way. If Arya kills Cersei, I will be furious. Arya is one of my favorite characters. If she kills Cersei, she will be one of my least favorite characters because she was overused. Her character was put into plot points that shouldn't have been there, and she took everything from every other character. So it would just be crazy. Do you think there's a possibility that we're going to need a wheelchair ramp at the to the end of the throne? Honestly, I hope not. Honestly, Bran being king, I will laugh if Bran is king. I will laugh. Like I will be blown away how incompetent the writing is on this show if Bran sits the throne because he's literally the worst possible candidate. He's the worst. He's the worst person you could possibly put on the throne. He lives in the past. If they're building a better world, why would you want somebody sitting on the throne who only knows the past? Um, he's not even a leader. He's not. He's said over and over again he doesn't want to be king. And knowing the producers of the show, they're like, "Oh, foreshadowing. He says he's not fit to rule, so we'll make him king." It makes no sense. And his whole character sitting on the throne as a leader, it makes no sense. Why would people rally behind Bran? He's like a weirdo mute who sits under a tree half the time. Like he has nothing to offer. His whole it just doesn't make sense. If Bran is king, that would it would be really, really bad. I would not believe it if Bran sits the throne. It would be shocking. And it would be honestly be a shame because I love this show so much. And for them to butcher the Night King and Bran that bad, it's like they mixed up the plot points. It's like, so Bran is preparing, he's getting this ability, and Bran will be ready when the Night King is ready. Except, surprise, Bran's not going to do anything to fight the Night King. Plot twist, he'll be the king at the end of the show, even though all of his visions were based on him seeing his brother sit the throne. It would be the stupidest thing I've ever seen. So I couldn't believe it. Bran to me is the kind of character who goes back under the weirwood tree, or he dies and magic dies from Westeros. But other than that, boy, that would suck. Um, D&D are saying that they're gonna get drunk and shut off their phones when the finale premieres. Do you think it's because they know they screwed up the ending too? Um, I don't know. I don't know. At this point, I can't believe if they like it. If I'm able to come on the show and string together somewhat competent theories, if you wrote the show, how could you not string together a fulfilling ending? You know what I mean? Um, so I'll be surprised if they can't do anything right by this. Like if Bran sits the throne, like that's a big mess up. That's really bad. So it's kind of sad when they say that because it shows that they have no like almost respect for the show or for the fans. So I don't like hearing that. Um, Ergen says, "Will Sam have any function left in the story? Right now, he seems like he could have been killed at the battle for Winterfell story-wise for some extra emotional impact on that episode." Sam was always one of those characters that I thought would live. He's the future knowledge of Westeros. He's the guy at the Citadel now. So, and we see that he's going to be having a child, right? Maybe a Tarly. So I think Sam's story is pretty much over. That's why John said bye to him. I think if we see Sam, it would be in like an epilogue or the end of the show. So I think the main part of Sam's story is done. Tyler says, enjoyed episode 4. What are your thoughts on Mad Queen Dany? My thing with Daenerys is I'll never say that she's like the Mad Queen. Because she's not. I think that Cersei will make Daenerys look like the Mad Queen. Like Daenerys has done a lot of things that she thinks are good, but it's based on emotion, and I think it will destroy how people feel about the way she is. Right? I think she will burn a lot of King's Landing to the ground, and I don't think she'll go mad. I think she's pushed to a point now where she can't. She's fate is not on her side. She has to be that Mad Queen persona in order to sit the throne. And for so long, she's been trying to do the right thing. So I think Daenerys is gonna definitely do something that's Mad Queen scene. Steve says people will be annoyed if Daenerys or Jon die in the show, but I think one of them will. I think Daenerys is dead. I think Jon will live. And I've always said with these two characters, one of them has to die. One of them. And I think that's important. Um, Maximator says, I love the idea that Jaime and Cersei will die together, the same way they entered the world as twins together. They will jump from a height forced by Jaime. Um, in terms of how it will happen, I'm not sure. But I think that idea should happen. I think that's how the show should end for Cersei at that point. I think Jaime should stop her because she's doing something crazy or she won't stop. So I think that would be good. Um, Daniel says, "Are the green eyes Arya closes Cersei's or Dany's?" That's one thing. Like they better not be Cersei's. I feel like that's not Arya's story anymore because they gave her the Night King. So I feel like with Arya, you can't give her too much. If she killed or Daenerys, fine. But I would much rather Jon too. I think Jon would be a more compelling reason that like he's so based on honor where he felt like he had to end this woman that he loves because she went too far. Um, I think that would be interesting. Um, what do we got here? Somebody says season 8 is a plot hole. Part of it is. Um, Somebody asked, "Do you think Brienne will go after Jaime or stay with Sansa?" Yeah, yeah, I answered that. I think she's not gonna. I think she's gonna stay with Sansa because she's sworn to Sansa. I don't think we're really gonna see much from them this episode. I think it'll be more in episode 6. But I think the next time we see Brienne is her hearing that Jaime died. What do you think about having no throne at all and just having thrown it all and just having the seven kingdoms separated and have a representative from each kingdom just rule their own land respectfully? Yeah, it's a possibility. We'll see. I like the idea of there still being kingdoms because it's like one person to unify everyone together, and then it's a better world than before. But a lot of people want their independence, and I think that would be a fair thing too. But the problem with that is it leads to war outbreaking later, right? So I think the show, regardless, needs to end with some form of unity. Um, Uh, Cook says, "What do you think about the Golden Company shifting their allegiance?" I've been saying it since Cersei mentioned last season that she was getting the Golden Company. I've been saying that they're going to switch sides. I've been saying that Varys is going to be the one to get them to switch allegiances under Aegon Targaryen or Jon Snow. So that's a plot that I want to happen. I feel like they're going to switch allegiances. I hope they give a valid reason why and don't just decide to flip a switch and have them change allegiances. I hope it's a compelling reason. So that's what I always thought with the Golden Company. Um, David says, "What if Cersei wants Daenerys to attack the Red Keep, and the little people and is not there and loaded with wildfire? So she kills thousands trying to kill Cersei. Daenerys wins, but also loses." Yeah, I think I always said Cersei could use that wildfire, and I think the wildfire is significant because it's a part of that poetic justice of making Daenerys look like her father, right? She burned them all, and then you use the wildfire just like her father, and it destroys Daenerys' complete image, so nobody would ever follow her if she lives, and her own people will kill her for everyone else, right? So definitely. And Jedi James says, "Do you think Cersei will use wildfire tonight?" I think it's 50-50. I can't say. If you look at the Red Keep, it looks like it's damaged by just dragon fire. So I think Daenerys will have a role in that. In terms of her doing wildfire, I wouldn't be surprised if people are laying siege to King's Landing and they're going through Flea Bottom and they're making their way up to the Red Keep. And Jon is leading the Golden Company and he's leading the Unsullied and the Dothraki, and they're going up to the Red Keep, and Cersei might blow it or try to blow it, and Jaime could stop her, right? So I think there's a lot of avenues for her to try and do that. Um, Somebody says, "How good is season 8 compared to seasons 1 to 7?" Um, the next 2 episodes are really gonna detail that. Season 7 was okay. Season 8, based on what's happened, I'm not the biggest fan. And mainly it's just because of episode 3. Like, everything else is fine, but the way that they handled the Night King, I thought was so poorly done. It really cast a shadow on this show. And how they're gonna, I don't know how they're gonna handle who's gonna sit the throne. Like, they better not butcher that part of the story too. So I'm a little worried. I got to be honest though. Season 4, yeah, I loved season 4. I loved season 5. I actually loved season 6. Season 6 I thought was incredible. The last 2 episodes of season 6 was amazing. And it wrapped things up great. So you'll never hear me complain about those seasons. But I think 7 and 8 are kind of a mixed bag. I'm not a big fan on those. Because from season 1 to season 6, there was no like, these last 2 seasons were kind of wrapping things up. And everything was so insignificant. Like, everything from 1 to 6 was a great payoff, and it was intelligent storytelling. Like, Hold the Door for Hodor, genius. Jon being resurrected and going through his thing and becoming King of the North, great. I think every character had a great arc. I think the only complaint that I would have is how fast Arya left the Faceless Men. I feel like that was kind of just thrown in there, and I think that could have been done better. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Do you see the the possibility of Stannis returning? No, he's dead. Arjun Ang says, Do you see any role left for Sam? Yeah, I already said that. He's going to be probably in the epilogue. He's the kind of guy that's going to be at the Citadel. Yasser says, "Do you think that they will redeem Tyrion? They made him so dumb for for no reason for the last 2 seasons." I think at this point, if Tyrion's going to redeem himself, it's just going to be ruling or making a better world after Daenerys dies, or something like that, right? I think that's pretty much it. Sorry, guys. Let me just find your questions here. Do you think Bran will go back in time to make sure Catelyn Stark's sister goes crazy and kills the Hand of the King and the Lord of the Vale? No. I think anything Bran related is done. I don't think he's. I was hoping Bran's purpose was to help with the Night King, and it wasn't. He didn't really do anything other than be bait. In terms of him going back doing anything now, no, I don't see him going back doing anything like that. And I just hope he's not made King of the Seven Kingdoms. I couldn't imagine. Bane says, I thought for a while that Cersei would use wildfire and flame it like Daenerys' dragon to cause damage. What do you think? Yeah, like I said, I think wildfire is a huge possibility. I think she'll get like a lot of civilians in one area and she'll just blow them all up. Who knows? But she has it available, right? She has it everywhere. PBX says, are you Canadian? I see Tim Hortons cup behind you. Yes, I'm Canadian. Tim Hortons. I love it. I'm obsessed with Tim Hortons. It's very popular here. You get like a Tim Hortons is basically on every other street corner. We love our Tim Hortons in Canada. Michael McCullough says, what do you think about Littlefinger using the Faceless Men to fake his death and come back at the end to take the throne? Uses chaos as a ladder. No, that's not going to happen because there's so much gray area around that, and yeah, that wouldn't work. Littlefinger's gone. Yeah, somebody says if Jon didn't kill the Night King and doesn't sit the throne, why do you think he was brought back? That's a part of my reasoning, right? Jon is literally there's 2 main characters in the show, Daenerys and Jon. They are the 2 main candidates for the whole show, and Jon was brought back to life, his story arc, everything. That's why I'm saying, because he didn't kill the Night King, he needs to be king in order to fulfill some type of purpose. That's why, right? So after that point, if John doesn't get anything, then I don't know why he was brought back. It was just useless storytelling. I don't know. Um, I keep losing it here. Yeah, somebody says, honestly, I don't see the point of Cersei being pregnant anymore. It doesn't really affect any of the character story anymore. What do you think? Yeah, no, I understand. I feel like it's one of those plot points that they just threw in. It doesn't really add any significance to the show. Yeah, that she could have just easily manipulated Euron anyways. I don't know why they did that. I think it was just storytelling for the sake of storytelling. It doesn't really have any purpose. Charlie says, "What do you think of the music of GOT?" I love it. That's the one thing about the show. I think the music is incredible. No issues there. The composer, I think his name's Raman Djawadi or something. I don't know how to say it properly, but he's really good at what he does. It's good music. Nolan says, "What do you think will happen between the Mountain and the Hound? Could the Mountain kill the Hound, or vice versa?" Yeah, so I was always like, the one thing I always got wrong about this show is I talked crap about Clegane Bowl. I always said that it wouldn't happen. I thought it was fan fiction. I thought it was too much. Um, but I think it's going to happen. Yeah. So, and that's my one issue with the producers of the show is I feel like they put like all these prophecies and things that don't matter. They give that screen time and they just eliminate things that are very significant. Um, but in terms of the Hound in the Mountain, he's going to King's Landing for a reason. I think he's going to go there, and I think he's going to save Arya at one point. Um, I think he will have his moment with the Mountain. Um, I would like to think that the Hound would forgive him and not go back to his character arc of hating his brother. But that's probably going to happen. They're probably going to fight. Who dies? I don't know at this point. It's really up to the writers of the show, and they're not predictable. They do whatever they think is surprising, I guess. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm honestly not really sure. What else do we got here? Oh, what will the third twist be? Yeah, people are saying that there's three twists in the show or something. I forget what the other two are supposed to be. What are the two twists of the show that have happened already? Like the Night King dying? I don't know. I think a twist for some people would be Jon killing Daenerys or Arya killing Daenerys, somebody killing Daenerys. What else? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know. Outside of that, but I hope a twist, like a twist, has to make logical sense, and I hope that they don't just do a twist for fun. And I feel like they've done that already. Charles says, "Do you think a Tim Hortons cup will appear in the next episode?" I can't believe they had a Starbucks cup appear in that episode. That was hilarious. I didn't even notice it until it was too late. So I thought that was pretty funny. But hey, represent Tim Hortons. Cindy says Daenerys would live through fire, right? Yes. We forget that she's unburnt. So I think that there's some significant I don't know if they'll touch on that again. I'm not sure. But yeah, we forget that she's unburnt. There's a lot of aspects to that. Charles says, "Will the Horned King return? The Night King? No, we're not going to see him again. I think they wrapped up that pretty quickly." Kara says, "Do you think Yara, Dorne, and Dario, the second sons and the Harpy, will join the fight at all?" No, I hope not. I just think that's just readdressing them back in. It's not compelling to me. It's just like a plot twist. Yara joining, sure. Yara makes sense. Yara has ships. She's at the Iron Islands. I wouldn't be surprised if Yara shows up. Sure. The producers of the show like people showing up for fun to help turn the tide, right? But in terms of Dario, no, his character's done. Dorne, I think, is done. The only significance with Dorne would be that Varys would message them. Varys would send them a raven and get them to change allegiances to John. But other than that, I think that's really it. Um, but yeah. 1 second here, guys. Let me just check something here. Can Flutter Flam make an appearance? I don't know who that is. I don't remember Flutter Flam. What else do we got here? Let me go through your comments. I'm just gonna quickly. I gotta go to the washroom, guys. So I'm gonna be right back. I am gonna play some music, and I'll be right back. Okay. Sorry. So if anyone in the chat is wondering why there's just a shot of a room, tell them that I'll be back in like 2 seconds. Okay. All right, I'm back. Sorry, guys. Oh, I hate leaving. It's the worst, but I was so uncomfortable. Oh, yeah, I gotta pause the music. I'm probably gonna get flagged, and this whole thing's gonna get taken down. BuzzTox is cranking one out right now. Well, hey, if I did it that fast, then that's pretty damn impressive. If I do say so myself. Well, speaking about the bathroom, social work says is rather shit now. Like GOT. Oh, he said BuzzTox is rather shit now. Oh no. He said I'm shit. Like GOT since the Night King was killed. It's almost like the wind has been sucked out and he has no more to give. You know, there's some truth to that. You know, I was really into some of my theories. I still have some stuff to say, like who will sit the throne, but yeah, I gotta say the Night King really took the wind out of me there. So yeah, social work, you're somewhat right, but all I can do is do my best. Um, I didn't realize it would turn into a roast session, which is fine. But one thing I will say is after the show's over, I'm going to be doing. What was I going to say? After the show's over, I'm probably going to do like a kind of like a what went wrong, and I'm going to touch on what I would do to kind of rewrite the show following the same rules, and just to show what you could do with just a couple of simple tweaks to writing to make something a lot better. I'm honestly shocked with the writing with the Night King and how poorly that was done. It was like they didn't even think about it. So I find that crazy. Sigalet Menche, thank you so much for the $10 donation. That's incredible. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. That's awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What else do we got here? Will Daenerys attack a dragon from directly above like Aegon did? Yes, I think she will. I think that was a part of the teaser that we got. Euron's kind of like, what? And I think she's just gonna fly right down because, and I think it's key that there's clouds in the sky because at this point, like she got killed last episode, right? She has to face these boats off in a strategic way, and that she's got to lay the first attack, and she can't come on them head on. So I think she'll definitely be doing some tactics with her dragon on beating their fleet. Michael says, "Do you think that the Night King took control of Bran using the power of touch, what he has done in the past with Viserion and Craster's babies, to make Bran plunge Dragonglass into his own chest?" No, I think as much as I loved the connection between Bran and the Night King, and as much as I wanted the Night King to mean something, um, I don't think that that's going to go anywhere. I think the Night King story's gone. I think Bran is now just a stupid mute, and if he rolls up to the throne, I'm going to be pissed. But that's pretty much it. I think his character was really it was really done poorly, if I'm going to be honest. Um, but yeah, that's what I think about that. Yeah, people are saying I sat on the throne. That's funny. Da, 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 da. Why did I get blocked for saying 5 dragons would disappear? Your title says predictions. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I'll just say a quick word to my moderators. So I'll just tell the story. So last live stream I did, people were throwing spoilers, and obviously it's hard to differentiate between what's spoilers and what isn't, right? A lot of them ended up being right. They were just coming onto my live stream and spoiling it for the fun of it, right? So I put a lot of moderators in place, and they're doing their job. They're making sure that spoilers aren't thrown out there, right? And obviously it's a really fine line trying to figure out if it's a spoiler or if it's a prediction. I'm sorry. All I can say is moderators, if they're trying, I don't know, it's hard to draw the line, right? But I do want to encourage predictions. If you guys want to encourage, I would love to read your predictions. I would love to give my thoughts. So hopefully we can ease up on that, maybe try and flow in the conversation. But if people are coming in clearly to just spoil it for the sake of spoiling it, get them out. But yeah, it's a whole new thing for me getting moderators. But thank you guys so much for your work. The people who I have made moderators, you guys are doing a good job. Double Take, give me $9.99. Thank you so much. That's incredible. Thank you. That's so nice of you guys. I really appreciate it. Danish says, "Do you think the Dragon Queen will kill Bran because he cannot bend the knee?" Good point. It's a really good point. Probably, I wouldn't be surprised. Or Bran will do something fancy that we haven't seen before, and he'll end up sitting the Iron Throne. That's what I'm the most worried about. That if Bran sits the throne, it's honestly laughable. I'm gonna be like the angry fan and message HBO. Like, that's crazy. Um, I'm actually curious. I wonder if they're gonna remake this show in like 20 years. I'd be really curious to see, because I wish, like, if season 7 and season 8 were rewritten, the show could have been unbelievable. I just feel like they've misstepped a couple of places with the last 2 seasons. Yeah, somebody asks, how will Dany die? I think she's going to. It's either 2 avenues. She's going to destroy King's Landing. Everyone will hate her for it. That's exactly what Cersei wants, and Cersei's going to kill her with wildfire or a scorpion ballista. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Daenerys is going to destroy King's Landing. I think she's going to live. She might take her place on the throne, and I feel like it's her own people that won't want her to rule, because she's a foreign invader. She destroyed King's Landing. She killed many civilians. And I think it's going to be Jon who kills her, Arya, or something of that nature. So I think above all that would happen. Theo says, "Do you think Jon is fit to be a good leader?" Yes, I think Jon is the best candidate to be a leader. He's my favorite character, obviously, so take that with a grain of salt. But to be honest with you, everything about his character, he represents the democracy that people want in Game of Thrones, right? People elected him to be the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. People elected him to be the King of the North, even though he was a bastard. Power keeps residing with him. And I think what makes him a good ruler is that he's the perfect ruler in my mind. He he was killed for being a traitor, but he did what was right. He listened to counsel, but he disagreed. So he went out and did what was right by bringing people together. He's the only person with a vision to bring people together to help beat the Night King at the time. So he's the only one I feel like who's thinking ahead. He's able to check himself. He's honored to a fault. His word is his bond. But I think there's the one thing is, like Daenerys needs somebody to check her worst impulses. Jon needs somebody like Sansa or Tyrion to watch his back politically, because Jon is the kind of guy who does what's right no matter what, and it could be to his detriment. So he would need a hand of the king, hand of the king in his corner, who would make sure politically that he didn't screw himself. But that's it. As a king, he would get the followers. He has the mentality. I think he has everything. So that's what I think about Jon. Cersei gives birth to a dwarf. Poetic justice. That's awesome. Matthew gave me another $10. Thank you so much. He says, you're my favorite GOT channel. Thank you for your work. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. That's really nice of you. Awesome. Well, that's great. We're just going to keep talking Game of Thrones. Stick around. Nancy says, Robert Baratheon didn't want the throne. He made a terrible king, bending the knee, bending the what am I saying? Bending the queen. Sorry, guys. I'm losing my mind. Being the king or queen of the Seven Kingdoms isn't an easy task. Putting that on someone who doesn't want it didn't work the first time. I know, but I think Robert was defined as a war hero, and that's what Varys calls Jon in last episode. But I think the key difference there is Jon is way more than a war hero. Like I said, he's a story of perspective. He's not just a guy who. He even said it. What he's good at, he doesn't like doing, and that's fighting. That's killing people. Jon doesn't want to do that. That's where him and Robert are very different. Jon's key purpose is he learns perspective. He knows different people and he brings people together. That's what Westeros needs at this point. And the fact that he doesn't want it, he's not fighting for it. And it was the same with being King of the North. It was the same with being Lord Commander, but he always did what he thought was right for the better of everyone, and to his detriment, to his death at some points. And it turns out what he wanted was the right thing. It's just the people didn't accept him at first. Have you seen You're on the Bowmaster vid? No, I haven't. Jess says, what are your thoughts on the prequel series? I was never a big fan of them doing a prequel series on The Long Night. I thought it was really stupid because in my opinion, and they didn't even explore this, which I think is so dumb, but from a writing standpoint, if you're facing off the Night King, you think you'd use Bran and go back to the last time the Night King came south and see how they defeated him. And that would be The Long Night. And them announcing that they're doing a Long Night spinoff, I think it was the stupidest thing ever, because what that means is that they're not going to explore that in this show, even though they should have. They're going to explore it in a spinoff. And now the way the Night King was killed by Arya, and it was so anticlimactic, why would I care about the last time the Night King came south? He was such a two-faced, just not an important character. So I think what they're focusing on as a show, I think this show ruined the prequel series for me. But we'll see what happens. PBX, thank you for the $4. He says, do you really drink milk out of bags in Canada? Yeah, you have two options. You can get a carton or you can get the bags. It's honestly 50-50. I drink milk out of bags. It's not so crazy here. We have like a little thing that you can put it in and then it has a handle and you can pour it. Yeah, so we do that here too. Is a happy ending possible for Tyrion? I think bittersweet, right? I think he's going to be alive. I think he's going to his like counsel. He's going to be providing counsel, or be the king, or be something of importance to build the new world, right? Maybe he'll get his Imp's Delight wine, So I think he'll be happy as he could be, and that's what I feel like for Jon won't be happy. I feel like he's going to choose being king, and that's to his detriment. That's what he doesn't want, unless he revokes it and goes north of the wall, but who knows? Interesting question. Peace and Serenity. If you could recast any character in the show, who would you replace and why? I honestly don't know. I think we've been with these characters for so long, I couldn't point to one person to have them recast. Like, all the Starks are perfect. Jon's perfect. Daenerys is perfect casting. Tyrion's perfect. All the main characters are perfect. Cersei, Jaime, all of them. That's a good question. In terms of secondary characters, Jon, Tormund, love them. The only thing I would say is I wish that there was consistency with the characters. Like Beric Dondarrion, perfect casting. I wish he was cast in the first season when they showed him. Gregor Clegane, the Mountain. I wish they cast him right the first time. The Three-Eyed Raven. I wish they cast him right the first time. Really, I just wish that there was more consistency. But in terms of the cast, I have no issues on the cast at all. I think everyone was great. Um, Jessica says, I think the prophecy will come to be. She will be betrayed by Jon for love, and he will sit the throne. Also leaves open for another series. Yeah, that's possible. I'm a little worried now by what they're saying about the show. Maybe they're saying it's this unpredictable to kind of keep us anticipated for the show. But I feel like Jon has to sit the throne at this point. Sorry, guys, just looking for the next question. What is the possibility of Daenerys herself transforming into an actual dragon? Didn't she say that she was the last dragon? What do you think? Why Euron looks surprised? You think Daenerys is going to just turn into a dragon, like a werewolf? I like the way you think, but no, man. I don't think that's very likely. It wasn't. It was never. I no. I just no. I don't think that's gonna happen. I like the way you're thinking though. Will Bronn ever get paid his debt by the Lannisters? That was one issue with episode 4 that I thought was really stupid. They threw his character to the sidelines like crazy. Just appears out of nowhere, asks for a castle, and then leaves. I just thought he was very poorly handled. Because now at this point, I don't even like Bronn. I liked Bronn, but now he pissed me off. I don't even want him to get his castle now if he's going to be like that. So I don't know what they're gonna do with him. At this point, I don't care, and I feel like they just kind of wrote him in for the sake of it. So I don't think there's any point in me even guessing because it doesn't matter. I think the producers of the show have shown that character arcs don't matter sometimes. It's just a surprise, and I think Bronn's gonna be that way. Either they'll kill him or he'll live and get his castle. Will he get will he get Highgarden? No, I feel like that's stupid. But I'm not sure. I think in the show, Jon is shown to continuously blunder and be unnecessary and not unnecessarily risky. On the other hand, Daenerys is shown to rise to greater power and influence through her own strengths. Um, I think the key difference is in terms of Jon continuously blundering, I feel like any blunder that Jon makes, it's his integrity. Any mistake that's to his detriment, he's aware of it, but he does it because he admires his dad so much, he refuses to compromise who he is. And I respect that about him, right? And that's what I think makes him a good king. And that's why he needs a hand of the king in his corner, because at the end of the day, Jon is just gonna choose what is right. And many times it's to his detriment and he doesn't care. Whereas Daenerys thinks more strategically. Yeah. So that's one thing on Jon, but I respect that about him. So yeah, that's my point of view on him. Yeah, Peter says all the Game of Thrones YouTubers channels are going to end on Sunday. Yeah, it'll be a sad day. I know that there's me personally, like I've done Westworld, so I do a lot of different things. Well, not a lot, I don't do many, but I'm actually going to be open for suggestions, honestly, because I'm going to be out of stuff to do, and we got a big audience now from Game of Thrones, and personally, I like diving deep into content, so I need to find something that allows me to dive deep into it. Um, but yeah, and then we're getting another Game of Thrones spinoff, and we'll see how that goes. I don't know how I feel about it, but it's what else are we going to do at this point? So I got to figure that out. There's some channels out there that are like dedicated to Game of Thrones. I don't know. They got to rebrand, I guess. But it's going to be a tough adjustment because Game of Thrones was kind of my main source, or Westworld too. Westworld and Game of Thrones are my main things that I love talking about. So it's going to be hard to find a new thing. Austin says, how do you think the show, um, Austin says, how would you like the show to end? That's a different question. How would I like it to end? I would like Daenerys burning King's Landing. I would like Cersei not standing down about to blow up Wildfire and kill a bunch of civilians, and Jaime's there to kill her and stop her. I would like Daenerys to sit the throne, but her followers, Cersei was poetic justice was served because she'd be killed by her own people because she became that mad queen, which I don't think she is. I just think that she was pushed to the point of desperation and she lost her claim, or she lost people's support. And I would like the Golden Company and other people from Varys to reside with Jon. I like that. I like the idea for Jon to begrudgingly have to sit on the throne. He doesn't want to, but he has to, because the support is behind him, and that's kind of the fulfilling that aspect of the show. Basically, that's how I'd like it to close, and then you build a new world with those characters. Yeah. Um, bu- 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 Sorry, guys, just looking for another question. Jedi James, thank you so much for the $5 donation. That's awesome. He says, thoughts on Davos surviving, and possible hand to Jon if he ends up on the throne. Yeah, so I find it interesting because we see like shots in the trailer. Davos is essentially Jon's hand of the king. Davos is Jon's right-hand man. And Tyrion is Daenerys's. And I found it interesting in the trailer because there's Jon in the middle, there's Davos on one side, and there's Tyrion on the other. And they both have something special to offer, right? Like for Daenerys, Tyrion is more political. He checks Daenerys's worst impulses. He knows if she's the dragon, then that will destroy her morale, and not her morale. It will destroy the belief of the people, that kind of thing. Davos is a very different kind of hand to Jon. Jon doesn't speak up for himself. He doesn't want any claim to anything. He doesn't promote himself. He doesn't do anything like that. So Davos is just the voice to get Jon's support. That's all his role is. And he's done a great job at it, right? So in terms of Davos, my first impression of Davos is that he will die because he lost his kid. He's kind of coming to the end of his road. And I feel like I hope he fulfills his role at getting Jon all the support he needs. And then once the support's done, I don't think Davos is good for that kind of council when you're ruling. I think Tyrion is more important for that. So I think if Jon would be king, I'd like to see Tyrion as his hand because Davos didn't make it. And I think Davos would fulfill his role promoting Jon, gaining Jon the support he needs, and then that would be his role as a character, and that's why Melisandre kept him alive, because that's really the key difference. All Davos does is get Jon support and speaks up for him. So yeah. Theo says, I think this is where we disagree and why I don't think he will be a good leader. So this is Jon. Integrity is what got Ned killed and threw Westeros into chaos, and Jon is following his footsteps. Yeah, but the problem was the reason why Ned got beheaded. He stuck to his guns integrity wise, but he was up against people who did not follow that. He followed people. The fall of Ned was because he was a victim of the old world, right? A victim of Cersei, a victim of the Lannisters, a victim of all these characters who run political agendas, much like Sansa. Excuse me, much like Sansa now, right? And I feel like Jon would be fine if he got to the leadership role because he then can rule the Westeros the way that he wants to. Power would reside with him because people finally support him, and then he can rule it the way he wants to. Ned never had the chance because he was a victim of people who were in power, and those people were not like Ned and were not like Jon. So I think Jon would be fine. And I think Jon would need somebody in his corner like a Tyrion to make sure politically Jon is okay, because he doesn't take care of himself in that aspect. Um, what else do we got here? Sorry, guys, I'm just going through all this. Yeah, a lot of people are asking me what I'm going to do after Game of Thrones. No idea, figuring it out. I know there was somebody mentioned, yeah, Wesley says the Watchmen trailer for HBO. Honestly, I'll probably cover it because it's HBO. I watch Westworld, and probably would make sense if I did Watchmen. Problem with Watchmen is I don't know anything about them. I don't know anything at all, so I'd have to get into that. Do some research, maybe. We'll see. Um, Ba, 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 ba. Sorry, guys, just looking for a question. Um, why didn't Arya turn into a white as soon as the Night King grabs her throat? Um, well, I wouldn't see her turning into a white from the Night King grabbing her throat. The Night King only can resurrect people who are dead, and she wasn't dead, and he didn't kill her yet. But in terms of anything else, like I don't know, it's just plot convenience, right? The reason why she wasn't marked, plot convenience. The reason why he just held her there and didn't do anything, like he was just so underhanded and shortchanged from the beginning. So it's hard for me to even say what he could have done differently because they shortchanged him a ton. Like Arya shouldn't have even been able to um, get to that point. So I don't know. Um, ba, ba, ba. Shawnee says, "Will Daenerys be brought back to life?" No. I think she's gonna die, and that's that. Yeah, I don't think she's gonna be resurrected at all. Um, and then he says, "Could Daenerys be talked out of burning King's Landing by Tyrion because she is with a child and he tried with Cersei? Also, if that happens, is it possible that we could get Jon and her to rule together?" I think Jon and Daenerys ruling together is no. I think there's no way that's going to happen. I think Daenerys is going to die. I think Tyrion talking Daenerys back off the ledge again from burning King's Landing to the ground, that's just repetitive. He told her not to, like 5 times he told her not to do something rash. And it's at the point now where Rhaegal died, Missandei died, where it has to happen. If Tyrion talked her off the edge again, then it makes no sense. There's a rift between the characters right now. She feels she's forgived him because of Jorah, but she's still kind of meh about Tyrion because everything he says, it is for the best of her and saving her reputation, but she's lost everything at this point. So I think she's going to do something rash. Do you think Tyrion has been working for Cersei since the end of season 7, as they never showed why Cersei changed her mind in the private meeting with him? No, I don't think he is. That would really undermine his character. My justification for for that whole scenario was because Tyrion basically told her that Daenerys was going to burn King's Landing to the ground. He kind of left too many chips on the table, and Cersei was like, "You just said that she was going to burn King's Landing to the ground, and you talked her not to do it." I think she agreed because she knows what Daenerys is at this point because of Tyrion, and she knows that if she pushes Daenerys a certain way, she could destroy everything she stood for. Um, so I think Cersei's playing Tyrion, like everyone's been playing Tyrion for the last 2 seasons. But the one thing is that what else is he going to do? Um, he's trying to make the world a better place, but he's realizing it's very hard when you're facing off against people like his sister. Um, Michael says, "Do you think that Arya will have another big role to play in this next war?" I hope she doesn't have too big of a role because her killing the Night King, that was enough. She shouldn't have had that arc anyway. She shouldn't have killed the Night King. I thought the brown eyes, blue eyes, green eyes, that represented her being a faceless person, and I think the producers of the show just ran with it because they wanted to finish off the Night King and they didn't really know a creative way how to. So they just threw that in there. If she kills Cersei, I will be furious with the character because she's given too much. And she's not a character that it's not emotionally satisfying. She didn't even know the Night King. She wasn't a part of that war. She wasn't as invested as Jon. Um, the fight against the White Walkers was the definition of Jon Snow's character for 6, 7 seasons. And then she just goes and kills him off like that. It kind of sucked. And it's the same with Cersei. Like there are many other people who have a deep story with Cersei, and they're going to be shortchanged to Arya, which is like that would infuriate me. So I think Arya should have a role. I think that she's being so overused, and I don't want her to have too much of a significant role because she's already been used for the Night King. Yeah, so I don't know. Miss YouTuber says, did Jon at any point appoint Sir Davos as his hand, or did Sir Davos claim the role for himself? Yeah, I think he just kind of became it. Yeah, Jon didn't really provide him anything. Davos just kind of tagged along and started helping Jon out, and then he became his right-hand man. Everything BI. Do you think that Sansa will be playing Littlefinger's game, revealing Jon's birth secret? Does she want to be queen? I think if anything, she wants to rule Winterfell in the north. She wants the north to be independent, and she wants to rule the north. I don't think she wants to be queen of the Seven Kingdoms, but I think she'll play the political game because she wants Jon to be king. Because if he's king, then the north is secure because her brother sits on the throne. And they would have a great relationship, and she'd be able to get what she wants, and she also gets to rule the north. So she would kind of have everything she wants out of that scenario. So I think that'd be good. Theo says, I think the show deliberately doesn't give Daenerys and Jon the option to get married and solve this in the most logical way, but they're really stretching it. In terms of how they explained their marriage, I get it. I honestly felt the way they wrote it before it happened when they said that if they were married, Daenerys would just overpower him. She's right. They're right. Daenerys wouldn't give up her power. She wouldn't want to come all this way and share the throne. She would basically, walk over Jon. So I think that's right. I think that's the proper thing, and I think that's what's going to make Varys do something crazy to get Jon to sit the throne. And honestly, like I'm going to say that he better sit the throne on it. Like, if it's Bran, or if it's if it's anyone, like if it's Gendry, it's so stupid. I won't believe it. Tom says, do you think the snow or ash on the so in the House of the Undying, he's asking if it was ash or snow. I answered that question. To me, it clearly looks like snow, and I like the interpretation better of a snow sitting the throne. It doesn't look like ash to me, and if you notice, the snow is still falling while it's already destroyed. So I don't think it's ash. It's possible, but ash just feeds into King's Landing being destroyed, whereas snow adds a lot more. That it's winter, that a snow sits the throne, that it adds all this other context to it. So it could be ash, but I don't think it adds anything else to the prophecy. Jessica says, I predict the prophecies will come to be. They are what will tie everything together. Bittersweet. I hope so, but the Night King stuff was butchered. So who knows? And based on all these, all the actors apparently saying that this thing about the ending, the producers want to drink themselves to sleep when the when the show comes out. I'm really nervous that they're just going to surprise us with who will sit on the throne. So I'm not sure. Um, duh, 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 duh. But that being said, I think this episode is going to be a spectacle. Um, and I think with this episode, I don't think this episode will disappoint me. I think episode 6 will disappoint me in every aspect. If they, whatever they do with it, I don't know. We'll see. But I think this episode will be very satisfying and will be very good. I think episode 6 is where it could fall apart. Much like the first 3 episodes, right? First episode, I didn't mind. They did what they could with it. Episode 2, I thought was good. Episode 3, and then I think it's going to be the same thing. So hopefully they don't mess it up. But that being said, I'll take a couple more questions, and then after that, I gotta go. I gotta set up for Game of Thrones. It's going to be a big one. It is. It's crazy how we're only 2 episodes until the show's over. So it's very bittersweet. So we'll see what happens. Um, what do we got here? Michael says, "How do you feel about what the writers have done to Daenerys' character the past 2 seasons? It feels like they have built this strong character and have spent the last 2 seasons tearing her apart." Daenerys is the one character where I think they're handling her fine. And it's not because I like Daenerys as a character. It's just I always felt like that was her plot. It just made sense to me because um, here's this character who is screwed no matter what she does. She has 3 dragons. She's the conqueror. She's taking what is hers the whole way. But what do you expect? I knew the people would never flock to Daenerys' cause in Westeros because from their point of view, she's a foreign invader. She's claiming her right to the throne, even though her father was a madman. Like, of course, people don't want to support her, and people don't want her to sit the throne. And now she's in 2 positions: either she takes the dragon and flies to King's Landing and commits, massive murder and looks like her father, and no one would want to support her, and you're back to the beginning, or you pay into Daenerys' character where she is caring. She does want to keep herself in check, and she does the right thing and tries to take over King's Landing in a peaceful way. And that's to her detriment. And she's slowly losing her army. She's slowly falling apart. And now she's stuck because either she is not queen and she loses, or she has to be the dragon and to take the throne, right? So I think her characterization is perfect. I think her character arc is one of the most consistent in the show. Um, I just think everything aligns with it. I don't have any issues with it at all. I think it makes perfect sense. Because yeah, she's stuck in that, and I don't. She was never. I don't think she's gonna sit the throne. She's not really meant to. But I think the way her character arc is going, I think it's consistent with who she is. I think Bran was butchered though. Michael says, "How do you feel about?" Oh, okay, I already read that. So that's what I feel about that. Cindy says, "Will Drogon somehow survive? Jon could take care of him, although I know Daenerys is closer." Um, I don't know. I'm honestly 50-50 on the whole dragon thing. For me, it's 50-50. Either they live through it or they die through it. I almost feel like the dragons will die with Daenerys, and I think that's it. I think they'll be left with nothing, and there's no more magic, no more. Yeah, I don't think dragons because they want to build a better world, and I think they need to eliminate the dragons to eliminate that power over everyone else. So I think Drogon is going to die too. So I think all the dragons are going to be gone by the end of this. And yeah, I think that's how that's going to end. Jay says, "What's your favorite episode?" His is Hard Home. Hard Home's one of my top 3. My favorite episode is Battle of the Bastards. I thought it was awesome. I loved it. You see Daenerys uprising Marine. You see Jon in the Battle of the Bastards. I thought it was perfect. Winds of Winter is probably my second, where Cersei blows up. Like it was so well done. Like Cersei blows up the Sept of Baelor. Tommen kills himself. Jon becomes king of the North. Daenerys comes to Westeros. Like it was awesome. Um, Double take. Thank you so much for the $3. That's awesome. I'll get myself more Tim Hortons. He says, "Who would you bring back to life and why?" Man, Egret, maybe. I don't know. Um, I think the character death that affected me the most was probably Egret, and it sounds so stupid because she was like she died in season 4, but I loved Egret, man. She was awesome. Um, any other characters I would bring back? I don't know. I don't think so. I feel like every character died for a reason. Like even Jorah, like when he died, I was like, that was the point of him, I guess. Um, there's not many I pretty much expect every character to die. Like I don't have any issues. I just feel like Jon can't die. I feel like he needs to wear plot armor. I feel like Sansa needs to live. I feel like Tyrion needs to live. But that's pretty much it. I feel like every other character is fair game. Um, what else do we got here? Yeah, William says Loot Train is his favorite battle. Honestly, it didn't really like. It was good for me. Like, it was great, but nothing was like Battle of the Bastards for me. Like Battle of the Bastards was incredible. Even in like when they faced the Night King this time, like it didn't do it for me. Like it wasn't great. I hope we get a good scene here, but like Battle of the Bastards when they followed John, um, when he fell off his horse and he was in the middle of the battle and they were just following him the whole time. I thought it was so well done. Like I thought it was awesome. Michael says, thanks for answering the questions. One more. Will Sansa and Bran have any further roles to play in the last 2 episodes, or will they be written off at this point? I hope Sansa's role is to help Varys seat Jon on the throne and playing that role. And she's going to be playing that political game and unseating Daenerys. Bran, like, who knows? I hope not. Like, I'm worried about Bran's character because I'm hearing people saying he's going to sit on the throne, which I think is the stupidest thing ever. In terms of his character, what I find interesting about Bran is all of his visions. Like they say that he's important for the Night King, but they all go back to Jon and how important Jon is. So I feel like I feel like Bran's whole purpose is always supporting his brother because he always goes back to learn about Jon, who he was, his parents getting married, Jon's importance to be king, all that stuff. So I think that's really it. His importance is always to it's always tethered to Jon. Um, okay, I'll answer like 2 more. What do I think will happen to Brienne? Brienne is really up in the air. I don't know. Like if Brienne was gonna go south, it would be because Sansa sees her heartbroken and gives her permission to go. But I really don't see her doing anything crazy other than like say if Cersei has won and Sansa's summoned to King's Landing. And Sansa would bring Brienne. They would go to King's Landing, and it's destroyed, and they would kind of evaluate what's next. That's what I think her role would be. Eminem says, "Do you think Tyrion is betraying Daenerys?" I've always said I think Tyrion is backing Daenerys. I think um, he and I always said that. I said Varys is going to be the one to overstep, and the 2 characters were close, and I think that would be hard for Tyrion because he doesn't want anything to happen to Varys. But I think Tyrion's going to hold his ground on Daenerys. I think if he betrays Daenerys, it will be him voicing his opinion in disgust based on what she's done in this upcoming episode. Like if she does something, like if she kills so many civilians, Tyrion will be furious, and he may take off his Hand of the King badge or Hand of the Queen badge, and he may not want to follow her anymore. Um, if Tyrion switches allegiances, I don't think he's going to betray her. I think he's just going to say, F you. Like, I'm done. I think he's just going to drop his support. But I think Varys, on the other hand, would betray Daenerys. I don't think Tyrion would betray Daenerys. I think he would just tell her, I'm not. Like, we're done. But yeah, that's pretty much it, everyone. So yeah, thank you so much for listening to this live stream. We actually got a lot of people, like 1,500 people at the end of it, so it was awesome. I love talking Game of Thrones with you guys. Like I said, you're gonna have a video tonight for me talking about this episode. I hope to God that it's good. I'm very, very nervous, especially for the end of this show. But other than that, thank you all so much. We'll do a live stream again. Hopefully, we can do. Maybe I'll try and do a live stream before next Sunday. Maybe we can do another talk. Who knows? I'll keep you guys posted. But I got a lot of other videos in the works. So thank you all so much. I'm already losing my voice. But anyways, take care. Enjoy the episode, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Actually, I'd love to hear it. So after you guys watch the episode, come back to this video and leave a comment, letting me know what you think, and we can talk about it in this video chat. So do that after. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.